There are lots of ways that we can decide to go about organizing our content. Whether the content can be organized by date, alphabetically, or by some other metric, it really depends on you and your content and what makes sense for your users. I would urge you to take some time to go ahead and user test with your content to see what your users are going to find easiest and what motivates them when they're looking for that content so you can help them find it. Pagination is one of the original ways of trying to organize content. It isn't necessarily the best one because we don't generally think of breaking pagination down in our own heads. We generally think about organizing data according to however it's organized, again, alphabetically or maybe by date, et cetera, et cetera. However, on web applications, we don't always have the luxury of sending all of that data over, and pagination is one of our central tools for breaking content apart, and Django comes with a whole host of tools to make this as easy as possible, both in the HTML and in the API. So we're going to start by looking at what Django Core gives us so that we can see how to paginate in the HTML. I've gone ahead and started our server and navigated to the Jupyter Notebook for 502 pagination. I've restarted the kernel and gone ahead and removed all of the output from the existing notebook. Now you can see that I'm going ahead and importing tag, although I don't actually need to because we're in the Shell Plus. And I just want to see what exists in our database at the moment. And you can see I've created 9 tag objects. Now, I'm going to pretend that that's actually too much. We're on an extremely low bandwidth scenario, and I can't send more than 5. Now, I can try and break this down according to 5, and you can see that this is a means of asking the query set to limit to a set of 5. But for actually serving that and then trying to manipulate it, this can get pretty complicated. And then I have to remember what was on that page. I need the next 5, all of that. And it turns out that Django will enable us to do that using the paginator. So down here you can see that I'm going to import from Django Core paginator, the paginator object, and I'm going to ask the paginator to break this into sets of 5. Now, we expect that we're only going to have 2 pages, 1 page for the first 5 and 1 page for the ensuing 4. So here we go. I'm going to run this, and you can see that the paginator finds all of the tags and says, yes, we have 9 items for the paginator to actually paginate. Now I can go ahead and look at the page 1 tags by asking the paginator for the first page and then looking at the object list. This is the exact same object list as if we had limited to just the first 5 items in our query. This is a slightly nicer printout just for you to go ahead and see it as we go from query set to list. Now, we can see that there's a funny relationship here where if we don't have the paginator is actually included on any set of objects for a page. So I'm just going to say that the paginator is the same object as the paginator that is included here, which means that no matter where you end up, notably if you're interacting with templates, you can simply come back to your paginator in your template context if this is the only thing that's been passed in. The paginator also helpfully informs us that we are going to be operating with 2 pages here. And so given that they're the same object, it comes as no surprise that you can simply ask for the same information right here. Now, the page number is included here for what page we are currently on. So this sort of page object includes its own number. And we can ask whether there are any other pages. And given that there are 2 pages and we are on page 1, we expect that there are other pages. And we can notably get more specific. We can say, well, is there a next page? And then ask for the next page number. And we can also go ahead and ask for the previous page. Now we're on the first page, so there is no previous page. And if we try and access the previous page, despite there being no previous page, we expect that there is going to be an empty page exception, which says no, that there is a page number that is less than 1. Similarly, if we try and access a page that does not exist, we will be told that there is an empty page, and this includes pages that are far beyond what we are currently paginating. So that page contains no results, but it is still the same exception. Now, there is a special condition here where if we try and pass in something that is not a number, we do get a not an integer error with this nice kind of item. This, on the other hand, is sort of a funny hiccup. This is sort of not the kind of thing that you generally expect in Python, but this works, where it will try and look at the string and it will convert over that string into an integer. And this sometimes has the advantage where in the event that you are operating on a query string or anything that is coming through a request, if you forget to take that information, which will almost always be a string. I want to say always be a string, but I'm going to hedge my bets. You can simply pass it in without having to worry about doing the casting from a string to an int. Django knows to do it for you. So that's a nice little trick there. In the terminal, I've opened Organizer Views, and down in Tag List, I've made a change. And the lovely thing about working with generic class-based views is they anticipate that you might want to work with other parts of Django, and so they plug right in. So here, I've simply said that I would like to paginate all of my tags by 3. So this means that there will be 3 items on each one of these pages. So now that I have this view that is going to automatically paginate, I have to change my template so that I can then navigate between all of these pages. So here you can see now we are being passed in a nice Boolean that is paginated. And if this is paginated, I'm going to go and show that we have the ability to move across the different pages. We have the page object. It says, we ask if there is a previous page. If there is a previous page, we show the previous page, linking to it using the URL query. And similarly, if there is a next page, we link to the next page with a nice next button. And in both cases, we decide to show the page number that we are currently on, as well as the number of pages provided by this paginator. Of course, there is nothing quite like actually seeing it in action, so you can see that I've loaded the site. I'm at the tag URL, and here we have 3 tags. I'm logged in, so I can see the Add New Tag link, and if I click, you see that we are loading new items as we go for simple pagination here. Again, pagination is a tool. I don't think that it is necessarily the only way that you should be breaking up your content. I would recommend trying to break things up, again, alphabetically, by date, looking at your data models and sort of saying, well, what differentiates this or what enables us to make decisions about this? So this is a fantastic tool, a very good place to get started, but it should be used as a solution to a problem. And the first thing you should be doing before you apply pagination is really trying to understand the problem and looking at what your users are trying to do and applying user testing before using a solution.